allow school district boards of education to conduct meetings by teleconference or video conference, providing the meeting can also be observed by the general public. In order to comply with this requirement, tonight's meeting is being broadcast live via Zoom and also on the district's YouTube channel. While operating under this virtual blended meeting environment, and in the spirit of maintaining public participation, the board has accepted written comments in addition to those wishing to speak during the meeting on non-agenda items. Those wishing to address the board regarding non-agenda items must have submitted the required information to speak at the meeting or written comments to be read at the meeting prior to noon today. As of noon today, we have 2 persons who have signed up to speak this evening during the time set aside in the agenda for this purpose. Those wishing to address the board on agenda items may submit their name, topic of their comments, email address, and the phone number from which they may be calling in the chat area of this Zoom meeting between now and 7 p.m. So all concerns may be heard. Please observe the following rules for public participation. Only 3 people may speak or submit written comments on the same topic. Each speaker may take up to 5 minutes to address the board, and each speaker may not reflect adversely on individuals. While public participation will not be interactive during tonight's meeting, follow-up with individuals submitting public comments will occur at a later time. All comments are considered public record and are therefore subject to the Freedom of Information Act.
We got a mask on, so if you broke it, it wouldn't kill us.
Ladies and gentlemen, again, thank you for attending tonight's Board of Education meeting. Having received confirmation that the video is streaming correctly, Southwestern City School District Board of Education President, Mrs. Kathy Johnson, will now call the meeting to order.
Thank you for attending tonight's blended virtual meeting of the Southwestern City School District Board of Education. While the agenda will be visible during the meeting for those watching online, you may also follow along using the agenda posted on our website at www.swcsd.us under the Board of Education tab. Please remember that public participation will not be interactive during tonight's meeting. Please note that tonight's blended meeting may not run perfectly, but we are doing our best to keep things running smoothly as we continue down the path of blended virtual school board meetings. The February 8th meeting of the Southwestern City School District Board of Education is now called to order. Roll call.
Caldwell.
Here.
Donofrio.
Here.
Mr. Ragland.
Here.
Mr. Schreiner.
Here.
Ms. Johnson.
Here. And I need a motion to approve the agenda.
So moved, Schreiner.
Second, Anthony Caldwell.
Did Mr. Caldwell second?
Yes.
That's what I thought. Roll call.
Schreiner.
Yes.
Caldwell.
Yes.
Donofrio.
Yes.
Mr. Ragland. Yes. Johnson.
Yes. We now need a motion to approve the minutes from the January 25th meeting.
So moved, Donofrio.
We need a second.
Second, Ragland.
Thank you. Are there any changes, any corrections on those? Seeing none, roll call.
Mr. Donofrio.
Yes.
Mr. Ragland. Yes. Mr. Caldwell.
Yes.
Mr. Schreiner.
Yes.
Johnson.
Yes. Move now to a presentation on the school fee structure. Dr. Wise.
Thank you, President Johnson, Vice President Ragland, members of the board, Mr. Garside. I won't take long with the fees. Typically this time of year, February, March, we approve the fee schedule for the upcoming school year. There are very few changes and or additions. There's been a change in the career technical area with the addition of 2 courses. With that exception, things are as they would be for a typical year on the fee schedule. We've worked very hard over the past 15 years to make sure that fees don't continue to increase and become a bigger burden on families. In fact, when you look back, the change from $15 to $20 on the instructional fee actually dates back to 2006, 2007. And the only other substantive change we've had since then is the addition of participation fee. With that said, the agenda currently has attached the full fee schedule. If you remember back to last September, actually September 14th, 2020, we brought forward a recommendation to reduce fees to 50% of what they normally are. We did that as a result of the fact that we anticipated disruptions and we weren't confident we could provide the services in a way that that we have in the past. I don't want my next comments to set the stage for the idea that we don't think we can do that for next school year. We do think we will be back to a much more normal circumstance with the ability to deliver, but there is still uncertainty with the pandemic. We continue to see families and parts of our community struggle financially as with the closures and other issues associated with the pandemic. very comfortable as an administrative team if the board would have an interest in bringing forward the 50% fees and putting those in place for another year. From a process standpoint, if the board has that interest, under Mr. Caldwell's section, he just will make that motion to adopt the 50% fees instead of full fees, if that's of interest. And we can go from there. Mr. Garside would then replace the exhibit item in the minutes so that it reflects whatever the motion is. If the board wants to go another direction at that time, it'll either die for lack of a second, or we'll move on with a different recommendation. But again, recognizing that the pandemic will be with us in the fall to some extent, even though we believe services will be much more normal, we do understand that many of our families continue to struggle financially. And we think it's appropriate that we continue to do our part and be part of the solution and recognize that as we move forward. So that's really all I have for the fees. I'll be glad to answer any questions you have or any clarification you need at this time.
Seeing none, let's move on to board reports. I'm seeing nothing there. Moving now to, we have no public participation relative to agenda items. So we'll go to Mr. Schreiner for the legislative liaison report.
Thank you, President Johnson. The legislature is back in session for the new year. So lots happening right off the bat. And I will just highlight a few of the items, so bear with me. But I will also say that you can go to the minutes, and there is a complete list of all of the new proposed items in the General Assembly, if interested, as well as some additional information like committee information. So I'll start by saying that the governor partially restored K through 12 funding for fiscal year 2021. He signed an executive order on January 22nd that implements budget reductions for fiscal year 2021 and partially restores funding cuts made to K through 12 education in that fiscal year. K through 12 foundation payments were cut by $300 million in fiscal year 2020, and districts continued to see reduced foundation payments in fiscal year 2021. The executive order will make the net reduction for fiscal year 2021 $140 million, restoring $160 million back to districts. The governor established vaccination schedules for school employees. He released a 4-week schedule for K through 12 schools to start administering first doses of the COVID-19 vaccination. For a school to be included on the schedule, they were required to submit agreement forms to either return to an in-person or hybrid learning model by March 1st. He also unveiled the executive budget proposal, which started the budget process for the 2022-2023 biennium by announcing his executive budget proposal, which focuses on getting Ohio back on track and helping the state to recover as we emerge from the COVID-19 pandemic. It provides an aggressive plan to accelerate economic growth and ensure economic vitality by making targeted investments. Education-related investments for fiscal year 2022 and fiscal year 2023 include roughly $13.4 billion in total disbursements from the Ohio Department of Education. The Student Wellness and Success Funds will continue to receive funding that totals $500 million in fiscal year 2022 and $600 million in fiscal year 2023. The recent approved federal K through 12 stimulus funds of $2 billion and $1.6 billion to support child nutrition are also incorporated in the budget numbers. The executive budget proposal does not include a school funding formula, and DeWine has indicated the legislature will lead on those proposals. I'll also mention that the Senate President Matt Huffman announced that all of the Senate committee chair folks And the one that I will point out is the Senate Primary and Secondary Education Committee chair is Andrew Brenner of Powell, Ohio. Speaker Robert Cupp also announced his chairmanships, his chairpersonships, and the leadership in the House Primary and Secondary Education Committee include Chair Gail Manning from North Ridgeville, Ohio. President Biden announced the stimulus plan and nominated the new Secretary of Education. President Biden was sworn in as the 46th President of the United States, and Kamala Harris was sworn in as Vice President. The new administration released the American Rescue Plan, which is a $1.9 trillion COVID-19 emergency plan that includes $130 billion for K through 12 schools and $5 billion to state governors to help fund ongoing efforts to assist in educational systems. Biden also announced the nomination of Miguel Cardona as the Secretary of Education to oversee the U.S. Department of Education. Cardona is the current Commissioner of Education for the state of Connecticut, and I will stop there only to add that once again that all of these items and many more will be part of the minutes if you choose to read them. That concludes my report. Thank you, Madam President.
Thank you, Mr. Schreiner. Moving on now to student and staff achievement. Mr. Caldwell.
Thank you, President Johnson. Good evening, everyone. Under student achievements, we have 3 items to share. Congratulations to Central Crossing High School junior Sadie Stortz for being accepted into the All-National Honor Choir. Sadie is the first Central Crossing High School student to be accepted into this choir. Next, we want to congratulate Westland High School senior Savannah Swenson for being selected as an All-American cheerleader and representing Varsity Spirit in the Varsity Spirit Spectacular at Universal Studios in Orlando, Florida. I know Savannah and her family very well from our years of cheer. Congratulations next to our wrestlers at Westland High School, Jacob Hurley, Bryson Palmer, and Tyler Jude on their 100th career wins. We had 3 students at Westland High School that had 100 career wins. So we want to wish them major congratulations. Next, under staff achievements, Highland Park Elementary School Principal Stephanie Baker has been accepted into the Class of 2021 Leadership Ohio program. Ms. Baker will be meeting and interacting with some of the most influential business, community, and elected officials in the state to explore the challenges and opportunities facing Ohio and our people. Congratulations to Ms. Baker. And last, we want to talk about our Southwestern City School District Gives Back program. Many of our schools participated in the Grove City 2020 White Christmas Canned Food Drive, and these schools have donated the largest amount of food in their respective categories. So shout out to Buckeye Woods Elementary School, Hayes Intermediate School, and Central Crossing High School for your great efforts. That concludes tonight's staff and student achievement report, President Johnson.
Thank you, Mr. Caldwell. Moving now to items for action, fiscal and operational management. Mr. Schreiner.
Thank you, Madam President. Under fiscal and operational management this evening, we have 6 action items. First, revised permanent appropriations for fiscal year 2020-2021. Exhibit X1, it's recommended that the Board of Education approve the revised permanent appropriations. Second, investments and financial statements for January 2021. Exhibits X2 and X3, it's recommended that in accordance with section 135.14 of the Ohio Revised Code, the Board of Education approve January investments, Exhibit X2, and cash position report for the month of January 2021. Exhibit X3 is submitted. The total investments, $494,700.59. Interest earnings month to date, $77,451.04. Interest earnings year to date, $1,603,620.55, with interest rates 0.010 to 1.690%. Third, payment of bills, Exhibit X4. It's recommended that the Board of Education approve payment of bills according to the list of checks for the month of January 2021. Fourth, donations, Exhibit X5. This total donations of $6,972. And we thank all of those folks for their contributions to our district. It means a lot. Fifth, authorization to pay bills in accordance with Section 5705.41 Ohio Revised Code, Exhibit X6. It's recommended that the Board of Education authorize the treasurer to pay bills for January, which were not processed in accordance with Section 5705.41 Ohio Revised Code. And finally, sixth, Life Touch contract extension. It's recommended that the Board of Education enter into a one-year contract extension for school photography services with Life Touch for the 2021-22 school year, Exhibit X7. After reviewing these items, I move them for passage.
Second, Anthony Caldwell.
Thank you, Anthony. Are there any questions? Seeing none, roll call.
Steiner,
Yes.
Caldwell,
Yes.
Donofrio,
Yes.
Ragland. Yes. Johnson.
Yes. Moving now to curriculum, Mr. Caldwell.
Thank you, President Johnson. On tonight's agenda, under curriculum, are the K through 12 school fee schedules that our superintendent, Dr. Wise, already referenced. Having reviewed these fees and listening to his presentation, I'd make a motion that we adopt the fee schedule at the 50% reduction and move that item for passage.
Okay. We need a second. I'll second it. Do we have, Mr. Caldwell, do you wish to talk to your motion?
I think Dr. Wise summed it up fairly clearly. Before I was on this board, there was a commitment made to this community that we would do our best to, make sure that there were some skin in the game. I don't think it's any secret to my colleagues or to really probably anyone watching that I have opposed these fees for a long time. But I do think that this makes operational sense and fiscal sense for our families to pursue a 50% fee reduction. Dr. Wise summed it up greatly when he said people are still struggling. Even next year, when we're back to whatever version of normal we can return to, people are still going to be struggling. And I think that this shows that, we want to help families in this community make that transition into the next school year and do that at a reduced rate for all the fees that those families have to pay. So that's all I would say.
Other comments?
Madam President,
Yes.
Schreiner, I'm sorry, I would have seconded, but I couldn't. I felt I was muted or something. So I agree. I would just say ditto to everything that Mr. Caldwell has just said. I am in agreement. I think this is a good thing, especially in a pandemic year. Thank you.
Thank you. I'd like to just take a moment to remind people that we do have the foundation that can help with student fees for those that need help even with the 50% fees. The schools all have information on that. Okay.
President Johnson.
I'm sorry.
President Johnson.
Oh, is it Mr. Donofrio?
Yes.
Yes.
Good evening, President Johnson, Vice President Ragland, and fellow members of the Board and Administration. I comment today for the fourth consecutive year to urge my fellow members to reject the pay to participate fees portion of the proposed fee schedule. Pay to participate fees pose an unnecessary burden on students and families in low-income areas. Our district has enjoyed great fiscal strength for well over a decade now, and additional sources of income well more than offset the less than $500,000 generated by the participation fees. Budgetary numbers speak for themselves. When I speak with families about their priorities for the district across all 4 high schools, this consistently ranks as one of the top desired changes for the district. As I mentioned before, I completely understand the difficult fiscal times of the late 2000s when a promise was made as a compromise to the community. We are now a solid 15 years from that time. Nearly all of the parents at that time of that promise are now empty nesters, and thousands of new residents have moved into our district since that time who were not part of the levy campaign. Times have changed, opinions have changed. I urge my colleagues to interact with the public on this topic. I guarantee you will hear the same reaction from parents of all socioeconomic and political persuasions. Our treasurer, Mr. Garside, in February 2020 at our retreat ran the numbers with us. The fact of the matter is clear. The fees are quite simply unnecessary and a relic of difficult fiscal times in the past. The 50% compromise is further evidence of this. We can continue to dwell in the past, echoing promises from an entirely different time before a mostly different population, or we can listen to the students and parents we serve now, today, and do something about one of their top priorities. Therefore, I ask my fellow members to join me in voting no on the participation fees portion of this motion. Thank you.
Any further comments? Seeing none, roll call.
Caldwell.
Yes.
Alfredo.
No on participation fee portion, yes on the rest.
Ragland. Yes. Steiner.
Yes.
Johnson.
Yes. Moving now to personnel, Mr. Ragland.
Thank you, President Johnson. On the board agenda this evening are seven personnel items involving 108 persons. This includes 2 certificated resignations, 1 certificated change in employment status, 82 certificated employments, 3 classified resignations, 3 classified changes in employment status, and 17 classified employments. And after review of these items, I do recommend them for passage. Thank you.
Second, Shriner.
Okay, any questions? Seeing none, roll call.
Ragland. Yes. Steiner.
Yes.
Caldwell.
Yes.
Yes.
Johnson.
Yes. Moving now to public participation on non-agenda items. We have Julie and David Hack signed up.
Hi there. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Great. My name is Julie Hack, and I am a parent. My son David is here with me. He has been a member of the Grove City High School soccer teams since he was a freshman, and next year is his senior year. And we found out that the 2 assistant coaches aren't going to be the coach for next year. And David has some comments that he'd like to share about that.
Okay, I'm David Hack. I've been at Grove City the last 3 years playing soccer. Previously, Brian Mulvaney was our head coach. He resigned as the coach this year. Our 2 assistant coaches who were internal candidates didn't get offered the head coaching job. My teammates and I were shaken. This led to us having many questions because our previous coach, Coach Troy, who's a teacher in our building, gave all the incoming seniors or upcoming seniors a call, and he let us know that an outsider or another coach would be coming in. Coach Troy, he was the JV head coach. He has led us to many winning seasons. My freshman season, playing under Coach Troy, I was a team captain and we went undefeated that season. In 2017, Coach Troy was named OCC Assistant Coach of the Year. Also, Coach Troy helps us a lot in the classroom, which is really huge for me because I have an IEP and he's always there for me, like making sure I'm on top of things. and just having him around is just really huge for me. Coach Troy is just a great guy. He's somebody everybody on the team trusts, and most of my teammates didn't really they didn't want to take the next step to speaking to higher up people because they were afraid it would take or cause conflict with the new coach. So I'm willing to talk to the board and whoever I need to talk to voice my opinion. And so pretty much I think that Coach Troy is a very qualified coach. He's been there for us. He's been at Grove City High School the last 7 years. He produces everything that goes to the varsity level, and I want Coach Troy Fleischman as my head coach next season. And that's pretty much all I got. Thank you.
Thank you for taking time to address the board this evening. If you'd like to talk further about it, you can speak with Deputy Superintendent Stewart. Okay? And now I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn. Anthony Caldwell.
Thank you. We need a second.
Second, Robert Ragland.
You, roll call.
Caldwell,
Yes, sir.
Ragland,
Yes.
Doncio,
Yes.
Schreiner,
Yes.
Johnson.
Yes. Thank you all for attending this evening. Have a safe trip home and be careful. Bye.